G'day. The Australian Grand Prix might be one of the greatest races I've ever attended. The crowds were huge, about 420 to 440,000 people in total, and in this video I'm going to explain what I saw over the 4 days of the Australian Grand Prix. Weather-wise, we were blessed at the Australian Grand Prix at the Albert Park circuit. Let me tell you about what I saw over the 4 days. Crowd numbers anywhere from 420 to 440. Organisers won't put an exact figure on it, but it was, I believe, the biggest crowd to ever attend a Grand Prix race. And do you know how many women were at the event? 40% of the crowd were female. 10 years ago, that would have been unheard of. But now we have Netflix driving demand, we have social media, where a lot of young people are, and that's the thing, that a lot of the crowd were young. And I'm going to jump straight in to one of the greatest things we see on the F1 circuit, that is the Melbourne Walk. The fans are amazing. I think probably Sunday morning was the peak of crowds. I reckon there was probably upwards of 2,000 people waiting 8 or 9 deep along a 150 metre stretch for the drivers to come through. They were great too. You had the likes of Daniel, Lando, Oscar Piastri, spent, I reckon, 15 to 20 minutes walking that walk, signing, posing, having the time of their life. Of course, some drivers spent a lot of time on there, others less so. George Russell actually appeased the crowd, but he was very quick, and you had to be very quick with your phone to get a selfie. Then you had the likes of Sebastian Vettel, who decided to take his bicycle in, which he had manufactured here in Melbourne by JRI Fixed. His trainer Antti also had a bike from them. Fernando Alonso saw a flag from his hometown and made a beeline over to one of his fans there and spent some time hugging and posing for pictures there, and then walked up the Melbourne Walk. And then you had the likes of Lewis Hamilton, who's the most well, actually he may not be the most popular in Australia. That might be Daniel Ricciardo. But anyway, Lewis decided he would take his car on the first day, the Thursday, and he would drive up the Melbourne Walk to nearly the paddock entrance and get out. So the fans unfortunately did not get to see Lewis. Let's kick off the race weekend. Now, typically it would start on a Thursday, but because there is activity on the track, a lot of the drivers did their track walks on the Wednesday afternoon, some even on the Tuesday. So we have the likes here of Fernando Alonso in nice light. Alex Albon and his trainer Patrick Harding ran the course. Carlos Sainz rode it late afternoon on Wednesday. Nearly cleaned me up here as he apexed the first corner. Let's talk about the paddock itself. It's the prettiest, without a doubt, on the F1 calendar. On Sunday morning, I remember this beautiful smell of cooking all up and down the paddock, because the catering staff cook out the back of the hospitality suites, which are just tents essentially erected for this event. And while the food's cooked out the back, a lot of the drivers eat out on the hospitality decks, or even just out on the grass in front of the garages, like Mick Schumacher here on Sunday morning with his manager Sabine Kem and his trainer Kai Schnapke. Thursday at the Australian Grand Prix, and early in the morning Pierre and Charles caught up in the paddock. Britta Ruska, Sebastian Vettel's manager effectively, was back for her first race of season 22 with Seb. One of my most popular Instagram posts of Thursday was this one, with Angela Cullen being given a back massage from Carl Fanson, Beauty and the Beast. Now in Australia, when you say someone's a beast, it's a compliment, so a couple of people took that wrongly, but trust me, the man is, he's a beast, don't worry about that. FP1 and FP2 went by, and I went out and shot some car pictures and enjoyed myself there. The weather was gorgeous. Later in the evening on Friday, I decided to wait for the drivers who are now going and doing face-to-face drivers briefings on the Friday night. Last year, year prior, all was done on Zoom. But no, back together now, and it was a marathon. And they brought up a couple of things. Underwear has to be the fireproof underwear, and the second thing is no jewellery. And Lewis was, I guess, implying that that was mainly aimed at him, because he does wear a lot of jewellery. So that is now going to be policed, apparently. And some drivers were running well late and having to sprint in the darkness upstairs to the media conference centre. Saturday is my favourite day. There's just such a buzz with qualification coming late in the afternoon. In the morning I found Daniel and Jackie Stewart catch up with each other, and I photographed them before in Australia, where Daniel and Jackie have a good chat and a hug in this particular instance here. My most popular post, I think, was this shot of Daniel and his nephew Isaac fist bumping after Daniel's FP1 session. Lewis Hamilton doesn't often stop for autographs, but I got to say, when he sees a youngster, he's pretty good, and he did make an exception for this youngster as he made his way from the hospitality suite to the garage on Saturday in the morning and stopped to sign for this fella. Saturday night I had to shoot an event upstairs with F1 Experiences, and I'll tell you, if you want to go to a race, go with F1 Experiences, and you can book via my website, kimillman.com, and go to the race by race pages and click on the link and get yourself into an F1 Experiences package. There's plenty to be offered there. Valtteri Bottas came along and spoke for 15 minutes. He'd actually been out to one of the Aussie rules football clubs and done a photo shoot and had a crack at kicking a ball and handballing. And a lot of the AFL players have mullets, which is long hair at the back and shortish on the top. So they'd photoshopped his face onto this particular player's mullet, and Valtteri found that quite amusing. Sunday, race day, great atmosphere, people everywhere, well-dressed, casually dressed. Daniel stopped for almost everybody along Melbourne Walk, including this youngster who was near the swipe gates, and not only did she get Lando, she also got Lewis. But that post was my most popular, I think, on the Sunday. The afternoon started with the drivers' parade, and I could not believe the buzz from the crowd was electric, and all of these beautiful cars, all the same make. Are these Cobras? Yeah, someone will put in the comments below what they are, but spectacular looking and better than having all the drivers on a truck. They headed off and did their laps, and then they came back underneath the Melbourne sign, with Carlos Sainz obviously running late because he decamped very early and sprinted past the other drivers who were waiting in their cars to stop up closer to the exit. For the start, I went down to turn 2 and went up on the tower to shoot the field rounding turn 1 and heading towards me. Nothing happened untoward, but still nice pictures and a good record of what I saw. I did notice that one of my colleagues, Peter van Egmond from Holland, who's a lovely fella, he didn't have an Apple Watch. He'd fashioned his own Apple Watch, made from his iPhone strapped to his wrist. So it was very visible for everyone to see. Then I went to turn 3, turn 4 I wasn't that impressed with, and walked back in time to stand in the queue for Parc Ferme, shot the drivers arriving back and a huge crowd in pit lane as per usual. There was the champagne celebration, and then it was back out into the paddock. And then we had the Ferrari celebration, and there was great joy amongst the red team. But interestingly, there was hardly any media from Italy. In fact, there were hardly any European media because it's such a long flight, and for one race that a lot of them were frightened off. And I think there was really only Sky Italia with Mara San Giorgio and their film crew to cover that, which is disappointing, I know, for the Italians who perhaps didn't get the coverage that they wanted. Outside the FIA garage, lovely photo here of Alex Albon hugging his trainer Patrick Harding for his 10th place finish. He was pretty chuffed with that. Lando and Daniel also pleased to be finishing 5th and 6th. Lewis was delivered his scooter by Angela Cullen, his physio, and then he promptly headed back down a back path past all the outside kitchens to the Mercedes suite and then returned to do his press interviews. There were the usual podium photos, and this one here was a fluke, with the sun just managing to hit Sergio's trophy at the precise moment that I shot this image. And then leaving the circuit on the Sunday night, there were still 1,500 odd people out there cheering and waving to anybody that walked past, and thank you to those people that said they followed me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube or Twitter. Fashion-wise over the weekend, what can I report? Well, Lewis's outfits over the 4 days, here they are. I thought the third and the fourth days were similar, certainly in colour, but one was a onesie, as you can see here, and the other one was a suit. Yuki Tsunoda excelled with this yellow rain jacket from AlphaTauri, and the following day, Pierre Gasly wore in the cream version of it. Lewis's shoes on the Saturday were interesting, as were Yuki Tsunoda's on the Sunday. On the subject of shoes, these are my on-running shoes, which have worn out, and I'm disappointed because I find them to be supremely comfortable, but not much chop if they look like that. We had a couple of parents in this weekend. The parents of Yuki Tsunoda were there, along with Daniel Ricciardo's parents. Even his sister and his nephew were there. And this weekend I had my youngest son, Jace, with me. How was it, Jace?
It was a great experience. I worked very hard, so I didn't really take much time to soak everything in.
You don't get any real spare time, do you?
So you get a bit to look around and look for your next shot, but other than that, there's no real time to actually absorb what's happening around you. You don't know what's happening in the race, in qualifying, which is a strange concept for me.
You're 20. What was your moment of the weekend?
Probably when Pierre Gasly came up to me and recognised me from a shoot we did a year ago with him.
It's nice when a driver remembers you because they meet so many people and they're under so much pressure being pulled from here and there. If you've liked the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so. You'll find all of my images at prostarpics.com. My F1 driver photo books, including a new one, the Australian 2022 Grand Prix, is available right now at kimilman.com, along with merchandise, wall art, and for my best images live from the track. And all during the week, head to Instagram and search @KimIlman. Thanks for watching.
Stay passionate.
Hang on a sec. What?
Hit the like button. You gotta do that.